All right, and it is now just about 27 minutes to 7 o'clock, and it's time for us to look at the dailies. And in case you're joining us now, welcome aboard. Joining me to flip through what is making headlines today, I have Kevin Osido, who is from County Governance Watch. Good morning, and thank you for joining us bright and early.
Karibu sana.
Yes, and you were saying that there's an accident on Mombasa Road?
Well, I don't think it's an accident. It's probably a truck that has developed some mechanical issues, and right from the front, from the front, it looks like an accident. But then when you move over, then it looks like some mechanics working on here. But from the back, there is totally nothing that shows that there is quite some activity on the road.
All right, so if you're using Mombasa Road towards the airport, just be wary of a slight delay because of that truck. I think I remember I actually left it there even when I was coming, but at that time you'd hardly notice because there was no traffic. But of course, as people now begin getting to work, then there's likely to be slight delays. There you go. So in case you see any incidents on the road, do also let us know so that we can keep everybody informed. For now, let's look at the dailies, and we start off with Standard, where the headline is Radical Proposal for Powerful Prime Minister. Now, I must say that when the idea of having a Prime Minister or an expanded executive started off, it sounded more like something like a piped dream, something that Kenya would not go for. But the more it seems to become or can become a reality, of course, subject to the referendum.
This is quite true, Mike, but again, it's not the first time that Kenyans would be looking at this kind of position, because it looks like more or less the second or the third time coming from our historical political perspectives. And then we had the 2007-2008 issues, which then gave us a position of Prime Minister, which I think was much more closest to most of the Kenyans, because when we had the first Prime Minister, then not many of us were born, that's one. But again, the transition from then political terrain to what we are facing right now was not quite felt by most Kenyans. But you note that the person who was the Prime Minister at the time when Kenyans felt the position was the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And you know that there is someone who doesn't just walk into a room and people think that there's nothing that has happened. He moves with the ground and you feel. So I think that's one of the things that made Kenyans feel like, yes, there is a position that is now called the Prime Minister. The third thing for me would be to look at how this plays with devolution, because you know that one of the reasons why Kenyans sought for a devolved governance system was that they wanted power and resources to move closer to them. But then these kind of positions are then positions that set a narrative that is taking place at the national level. So how Council of Governors are going to engage with this, how the governors at the county levels are going to look at these kind of proposals is something that in my view would be quite an interesting watch. But again, it has to be, in my view, a responsive position. It doesn't have to be a position that is created because people feel that they can be comfortable around certain people. It doesn't have to be a discussion that Building Bridges to Unity Initiative is having because it is about President Uhuru Kenyatta and then the former Prime Minister. It has to be about Kenyans.
It has to be about Kenyans. And let me pause you there, because one question that some might ask is the question of, we've had two Prime Minister positions in Kenya, but have been removed over time. The question is, what would be different between this Prime Minister? If the other two were not found to be relevant at that time, what difference would this create?
The difference, in my view, would be to have a complete overhaul of the electoral system, because currently what Kenyans, what we have is a winner takes it all, where you are elected and you don't care about who becomes number 2 or who becomes number 6 out of the 8, or in fact, who becomes number 8. And so the manner in which our political system has oriented us is that the moment you lose as a candidate, then that's more or less the end of you. But I think then this provides an opportunity for us to have a complete overhaul of the electoral system, including what we do with positions. You note that we initially used to have a position of official leader of opposition.
Correct.
What do we do with those kind of positions? You know, do we also bring them back and begin to talk about who would that be? Would government give the people resources to be able to check and hold government to accountable? And how would that office really communicate and share the feelings of Kenyans who would then feel like they're either part of the country or not? So, Mike, in my view, this then gives us an opportunity to, through the Building Bridges to Unity initiative again, to be able to have a dialogue around a complete overhaul of our electoral system, so that then we take it from the personalities to the positions. But then the positions, again, have to be positions that then speak for the majority of Kenyans, so that it's not about 8 people or a few people that then feel that we have the authority and the space to make decisions for the masses. And so I think what this means, again, is just for us to be able to have a complete overhaul. What do we do with the winner takes it all? What is the role of IEBC? How do we determine who becomes the winner? And then beyond that, how do we sustain a government to be able to respond and answer to the questions for which that government was put in place? Because I think that is something that is currently missing. Yes, the president and his team, they're really trying. The big 4 issues. Today we are talking one united country, we are one, and all this because of their ability to come together and shake hands. But then the question is, how do we ensure that even the few who are part of the NASAs, the people who are part of Jubilee and are falling out and are somehow feeling comfortable with the arrangement are also taken over? Because they also have relatives. There are people that believe in the ideologies. Whether we have political ideologies in Kenya or not is another question. But
Absolutely.
Yes, how do we carry the entire country forward?
Okay. And before we move away from this, another question, of course, that many would want to have answered by the political class is, according to this, what is written, submissions so far to the Building Bridges initiative suggest proposals to overhaul governance system is popular and gathering steam. So the question is, public participation is something that is key and crucial in this process. Who are these who are, who are having it popular, and which steam is this? Is it the political class or is it Kenyans in general? Because I don't know, Kevin, have you, been approached, or have you had a forum where the Building Bridges initiative have given you as a Kenyan an opportunity to say what you feel and think?
Mike, I have had sessions with the Building Bridges as an institution that is County Governance Watch. We've had 3 meetings. But again, during the submissions at KICC, we received an official letter which was signed by the chair, Senator Yusuf Haji, inviting us to go and speak on behalf of young people and to share our voices. So yes, I have had numerous opportunities, but I'm also aware that they've been going out to the counties, at least towards the end of last year. The only challenge that I think we are facing is what you rightfully called public participation. Kenyans should not feel that that they have to be paid to attend meetings at KICC. It must be a civic duty. We must be able to live by the aspirations of our Constitution in Chapter 6, Article 10 of National Values, and one of them is patriotism. And in my view, sometimes I even see counties begging people to go to meetings to make decisions on budget issues and how counties are going to use those monies. It has to be a personal volition. It has to be, people must be willing to even, for us to hold governments to account, including task forces like Building Bridges, we must, in my view, feel that it is my personal responsibility to see it written somewhere that we are meeting with people and to move on. So yes, I have had this proposal coming up. We've also been part of what is called the National Mediation Forum and also the Dialogue Reference Group that brings together, is more or less like a multi-sectoral platform that brings together the private sector, the church leaders and civil society, government agencies, some government agencies that work closely with civil society organizations and all that. So this was a proposal that, yes, was first mooted by the church, by the religious leaders, and quite surprisingly, immediately after that happened, because I remember it was after one meeting at Ufungamano, and then the political class picked it up, which in my view, Mike, is a problem, because sometimes when we leave a lot for the politicians, then the narratives change, and then it indeed takes a life of the politician. So how again do we have an opportunity to check, the messaging around this position, and including how responsive and accountable that position is going to be the citizen. So it is our role again as citizens to come out there and to watch and monitor and to make sure that our voices count in some of these very serious
decisions that need to be made. All right, so please do get yourself a copy of the Standard, the headline.